Morning.
Morning.
Good morning, Vijay.
Hey, morning. How goes it?
Sorry.
Oh, how goes it?
Yeah, doing good. How are you?
I'm good. I got a question, I guess. How do I sound?
How do you sound? You sound a little different, actually. Did you change your mic or something?
Yeah, I'm just using my regular headphones. So like I'm not using my normal mic that I have like next to my computer.
But it's still clear though. I mean, your older mic was clearer, but this is also fine. I mean, I'm able to figure out what you're saying.
Okay, all right, that's fine. If it's a problem, just let me know. And I can switch back to the other mic.
Yeah.
This one's just more convenient. Okay. All righty. Let me go ahead and share my screen.
We decided that we would go over a design question, right?
That's right.
So I think the last time we decided that we would want to go over the design of Facebook question.
Right.
This one,
Right.
this one.
Okay, so I think what I'll do here is I'll start off with some, let's see here, standard notes like on the side here, just text notes. And if you want to draw anything, or if you want to like, diagram, just I think I can pass the controls to you. Do you want to practice that for a second here? I think I'll make you a co-host, or anybody who wants to do that. Let me start with you first though.
Diagram, yeah, we can talk about component diagram later. We can start with we will see as it goes. We can discuss when we come to that architecture piece.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Keep the template open. So
yeah, sure.
I mean, let me actually open it on my end. So anybody else wants to or interested, or I can just go.
So let's see here.
What's that? Okay, cool.
I was just going to try something like this is quick draw with Google. I'm just looking at anything that's online. That's kind of a simple one. So Sketchpad, digital makerspace. Let's see, can I share this?
There's something called drawio.com, right? Draw, let me see what that's something called draw.io or something. Yeah, app.diagrams.net. I think
Okay, so you want to use this one? I've used this before too. But this one's a little bit more like you have to actually know how to use flowcharts, which is no problem for me, but I was just wondering if anybody else here has that issue. I was thinking like maybe you wanted to actually draw on. There's OneNote. I know that that's pretty useful. Let's see here. What about this? Collaborative painting application. Okay.
Yeah, I think these are harder because now you're conscious how you're drawing. I think the other one, if better, you can just drag drop. Yeah, I mean, personally, I prefer the other one, but
That's fine. Do you think you can draw on here? I just wanted to check. Like I sent you a link. I'll put,
no, I mean, if I have to share, I'll share my screen.
You
Yeah.
guys can use Xcali Draw. Go and use Xcali Draw. It's like pretty simple. It's pretty much like Draw.io. Familiar?
that was the one that I was looking for.
Yeah, most of the time, yeah, we use this during the interviews too, actually.
Okay. Just for my own notes, right? Can anybody else with this link draw on here? Is anyone? Let's see here.
Oh, this is a shareable thing. Like I draw on UC. Okay.
Yeah. Are you able to draw?
Let me see.
Yay!
Yeah.
I see it. Okay. All right. Cool.
Yeah, I was able to draw too.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. So we can use this tool, or we can use Excalidraw. And then just basic notes here, just to kind of, so the idea with the tool is like, you don't have to draw like a beautiful picture. It's just really kind of like to explain a thought visually if it's difficult otherwise, to not explain it by text.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So going to the question, right? So we thought we would discuss how we would design a friend recommendation system. I think the prerequisite for that is to actually design the networking site, because that's friend recommendation is like a add-on on top of such a site. So let's begin with a first question. How would you design a networking site, right? So now, so basically the basic use cases that you would tackle are connecting to people, looking up people using their names, and then connecting to them. Yeah, looking up people, that's one thing, by names, I guess, and connecting to people, like sending friend requests, and things like posting, like, I mean, if I don't know if you want, yeah, basically the use case, yeah, let's list out all the use cases and then we can kind of drill down on what we want to focus on. So you can share updates with friends, and then create groups of some interest, and then what else? And then you can stuff like share pictures, and I don't know if that's share updates and share pictures are probably the same thing. And then you can so some people with, like, really large friend list, or like who are public personalities, right, have this concept of following public personality. So public personality, making a profile, public personality kind of thing, and then ability to follow them, right? So I think these are like some of the use cases we can. And of course, like the regular stuff, like ability to log into the site, implementing the IDP, the identity stuff, and I think that looks good for now. We can add on. So some of, like, the bare bones, like if you want to have a V1, like the minimum MVP version of this. So what you really want, the first things are, like, you want login, and then looking up people, like the first one, right? And then looking at people, and then connecting them, connecting to friends. and also browsing. That's yeah, I think don't worry about the browsing if you're looking up the same thing, right? So yeah, let's focus on these 3 use cases. So going to the template, they say who will use and how many will use. I think assuming that this is going to be a public site, we'll just open it to whoever signs up, right? So or we could also have a model where it only works with the, you have to be invited. I think that's one of the like when the site is, when it's in beta stage and when it's testing, it's being tested, so you basically only expose it to the to a few users. But yeah, I think for a regular case we can assume that it's available for everyone. And going to the API. All right. And then yeah, so we can go to the API design, right? So how does the API? So what are the for the login and all, right? So yeah, thanks for that. So you would first have for the log. Let me actually.
Well, actually, let's take a minute for a second because I want to give everyone a chance. So how do we feel about this so far? Maybe Sivan and Karthik, just if you can give some feedback too, that would be great, since it's a group one.
From an interview perspective, I think normally like we can go over to discuss a design. This is good. But from an interview perspective, I think we only get like the interviews are 45 minutes. We only get 30 minutes. So I think one of the items we discussed here, the interviewer might ask us to solve that specific problem. Maybe just log in or just browsing, like looking up friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, I think we
more narrow scope. 30 minutes. Okay. Karthik.
I think we have jumped to API a little too sooner, right? First, start with the data model, at least just say data model. Let's just call it out. I know we know, just call it profile or user, so that you have, you ask generally clarifying questions on, like, for example, do we need to tackle search in this particular design? You can explicitly say all the functionality and the interviewer might say, okay, just focus on these 2, right? I just want to see. So those, if we lay it out clearly in the first quick 5 minutes and ask more clarifying questions and narrow down where we want to go, probably it makes it easy for us when we tackle the interview, right?
Okay.
Data model and database is still missing, right? Or have we decided?
Yeah, that was
implicit. Okay, so let's go backwards, right? Always before API, database, then API, and then maybe any front end if you need to.
Oh, so first comes the database. Okay.
Yeah, because your API design also changes based on the database. Let's say if it's, sometimes if it's a NoSQL kind of a Cassandra kind of a eventual consistency, then your API has to adapt accordingly and stuff like that, right? So.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, going to the database. So yeah, let's pick a problem that we are trying to solve here. I think we should focus on the main core functionality, which is basically finding people, looking up people, and then ability to connect to them.
Actually, can I pause 1 second? And I'll pause the clock actually. Karthik, I know for today, like, because you have the most experience, can you be the proctor or the interviewer? Because you have so much experience.
Oh, that's a tall order, man. I'm not really all that, to be honest, but yeah, I'll give my opinion. I don't think I'm even qualified enough to be there, but yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, great. Because you have so much more experience. You've read the book 6 times, so I just want you to kind of give that realm. So you can be the person who's the devil's advocate the entire time and then next time we'll choose someone else. Okay, let's go.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. So for the purpose of looking up people, I think we have little more flexibility. If you are just so at this point, I would ask the interviewer, like, what are your search criterion? What are the is your search criteria going to change over time? Are you pretty clear on the attributes that you want to search on, like the names, emails, or do you have that list ready, or do you expect that to evolve over time, right? So if the answer is no, I only want to support looking up the name, then I think a regular relational or NoSQL database would work. But if you think that your lookup criteria changes over time, then a graph database like Neo4j would be my choice of database. So yeah, assuming that we want to keep it flexible, yeah, feel free to correct me, Karthik. I'm just like going on here. So assuming that you want to keep it flexible, then you create a graph database. You would use something like, I was saying Neo4j, and create basically, that would be the choice. Yeah, and I would just use a graph query language to look up people using names or they live cities in which people live, so on and so forth. So coming to the graph database. So actually so
Hang on a minute. Let me leave you guys with a thought, right? It's not always one or the other. It could be combination of databases too, right? You have that option. Right? Always. Your analytics engine is most of the time, it's not real time. So think of graph database as definitely part of your architecture, might not be directly interfacing with the transactions for creation of a profile and stuff like that. There could be 2 databases. Most likely it will be. Right. So I just want to leave that thought there.
Okay. So you're saying, I mean, you want to keep it open for evolution. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, not just keep it open for evolution. So evolution is like, maybe let's say you're more comfortable with RDBMS. For now, it's okay. You can have RDBMS, but again, you can offset the capabilities that you're looking for, which is not there in RDBMS, in Graph or NoSQL. Or maybe your whole database structure starts with NoSQL, right? But still, it doesn't give the capability of analyzing profiles and amongst themselves, right? Superseding one profile or another for any differentiation and attributes, or like grouping them together as a cluster. You can use graph database.
No, like
behind the scene.
So I think let's keep it. Let's not focus on the friend recommendation. I think I'm jumping the problem here. We should. I think for that problem, graph thing would be more appropriate. But for just to be able to answer. When you answer graph database, right, you should be comfortable defining the tables, how basically you should be familiar with the language of choice, that whichever, like Neo4j, if you say Neo4j, you should know how to kind of create the vertices, edges, and but maybe we can give it a thought here, since we know what is a vertex, right? So I would so yeah, let's not go there. So basically, I need more understanding about how to write the graph query languages to be able to kind of design the graph tables. So let's stick with the, let's say, for example, let's say we pick SQL or SQL, or like, let's say we pick a, NoSQL database like Dynamo DDB, right? That's like most comfortable for me because I've had experience with it. So yeah, you would have a table. Basically, you would, so you said, so we want to be able to look up people using their names, right? So I would create a table that has this name as the primary key, like let's say a table, let's say user, and that table has name, but then people have names. Names cannot be unique, right? Like there could be a number of people with that name. So basically my primary key for that table would be a UUID. So yeah, the primary key is not the name. So basically the UUID is the primary key. Unique identifier, that would be the user ID. And name is a field to facilitate looking up using name. I would create a, if it was a SQL, I would just create like index, but like in a NoSQL world, I would create a GSI, right? That would enable me to look up using names. But yeah, the table schema itself would be, the primary key would be the user ID, and then all the attributes that I want the user to have, basically the city, email, school, work, so on, right? Regarding, so yeah, now we can, now you want to represent the relation between friends, like I am connected to a friend, right? So one way to represent that in the, I mean, at least in DynamoDB is to be able to, yeah, you have, yeah, basically you have, how do you represent relationships, right? Just thinking aloud here.
Well, a person, you know, like can have a connection to another person, right? So, I mean, that would be like connections.
You want to have another table. You want to have another table that represents the connections. So yeah, how would you represent connections? So basically, yeah, you could have an array there. Right, but then there is a limit to the size of the record, right? So if your size grows, then you might hit the record limit. So what I would instead do is I would have, yeah, I mean in our, so this is like directly related to what we do at work. So yeah, you would have a connections table. Basically, there's every connection is a record in that table.
Okay.
Right. So
like, instead it would carry like people's ID or something. Is like, I guess I'll draw a table here.
Yeah, you would have the user ID basically, and the contact. Yeah, both basically it's a UUID, UID. Yeah, it's just a map between UUIDs. Yeah. So yeah, basically.
Can I pause you 1 minute, Amulya? A quick question. So what would be the table's name? So how would this data model from application code when you're designing, how, because it's going to be dynamic, right? Because you said connections, each connections, let's say you and me are a connection, then we'll have our own separate connection table, right?
No.
Is it okay?
No.
Or it's a single table?
It's a single table.
Okay, all right. Yeah, please go on, sorry.
It's a single table. Now, the point to note is like, if I'm connected to you, you are connected to me, right? So right, yeah. It is, yeah, basically I should be able to do reverse lookup also. So, or I mean, let's go with the flow. So I, let's say every time I insert a relation, because the way I look up is no, so can we rename that? So the first one is UUID, and then the second column, let's call it friend UUID or something. Contact. Let's say call it contact or something. Friend UUID. Okay. Yeah. Right. So yeah, sure. Suba must be laughing. I can see Suba here. So
You can speak up, Sivam. Like I want everybody to try.
No, I'm at least glad that you are getting somewhere. At least getting. So in the interview, it's not always getting the right thoughts, right? Yeah, I mean, at least if you are able to think some solution which can scale,
yeah.
would work. So yeah, it's nothing laughable. You're doing right.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah.
Most
So
important thing is this is a space where we don't judge each other, so it's okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Honestly,
So
I feel like you're
don't
doing
ever
great.
worry. Yeah.
Right. So yeah. So basically, every time I insert, I also insert. Basically, there's for every relation that I insert, I should also insert the. So yeah, this is a question for the interviewer, right? Like how in Facebook you can. I mean, what are the requirements? So is it when I connect to someone, is it also necessary that they are also connected to me, or there is an approval process that the other person has to approve the request only? Then you want to kind of make the connection both ways. If the answer is that is yes, there's a approval step, then, and once that approval is made, then yeah, both are connected to each other. In that case, then yeah, I would insert for every request, for every connection, you would want it to be both ways, right? So so that lookups are easier. So let's say 12 is connected to 23 and 23 is also connected to 12, right? So that basically there are two. So you would insert another record saying 23 to 12.
So that brings what concept, like the approval that we are trying to do. Most social sites has this approval, right? Like you're asking to get connected to me, I approve. That's when there is a link even established between you and I, right?
Yeah.
So which is normal. So every profile will have it, let's assume. So it brings a little different concept here, right? It's not just connection alone. Now you're bringing a messaging system into play, right? Kind of like you message or email or do something, right? Some kind of a messaging for approval. Once it gets approved, a connection is established.
Yeah, you'll need a message, something
Not,
to
not
like
to
say.
sway away from the connection thing, but like, so keeping that in mind
Also,
as well, right?
You want a messaging capability, yeah. But yeah,
right? To be able to email or like text, whatever, right? It doesn't have to be chat messaging system, but like at least some kind of a message oriented system, which is going to help you
Maybe a
send that request to
notification
that
system.
notification system, right?
Yeah.
Some kind of a system which is going to help you send that approval process.
Yeah, that's a different workflow, but yeah. Yeah, I mean, we need that that piece. But yeah, focusing on the data model to facilitate our use case of ability to connect and look up, right? Those are the two focal points here. So yeah, and then where is so now you have connections, and then anything else we need here?
By the way, I screwed up the clock. I put 29
I mean,
hours.
this is the first time we are doing. I need that, like.
Yeah,
So
we'll just ignore this.
Okay. So yeah. So what happens when user we need a system to sign up and all. So when the user comes in, the record is all that. So basically you need to verify the user is real and all that. So that is again separate. So yeah, assuming all that is done, we insert the user records, and then when the user logs in, what we do is the first thing he does is he wants to see who his friends are on the system. So and then he types in the name, and then we have this GSI or like index on this table with names, right? So and then whatever, again, it's a different design question, like how do you want to make the search faster and all. But assuming that for the MVP, we look up the entire names. So yeah, we get the query for lookup for a name, and then we look up, we use the index to serve that request using the names. So yeah, each one could be like each search criteria, it needs an index of its own to make search faster. Like if you want to look up using the city names, then each one would be its own. So the city is interesting because you could have multiple city associations, right? You could be born in one, you could be living in one, and you could just be associated with one, like you went to school in a certain city. I don't know if the interviewer is interested in solving that problem, but that would be an extension.
Yeah, I think that can be a follow-up question, right? Once we solve the basic one.
Yeah. Right. So yeah, I think the data model is good. Any questions on the data model? We can go to the API side of things. Right. So yeah, API. So yeah, the first thing is post, right? Like you want to create the users. When there's a new login, we are not solving the login problem. That's a separate problem, it's a separate thing. So assuming that the login is made and the user is created, the create API. Suga and Karthik, like whoever, correct me if the assumptions are not right. Like, do we want to solve the login problem here?
I would say no.
Yeah, mostly no. You don't have to worry. Login is it's pretty simple, right? Generally, you always have a federated SSO system that you hook it up. Authorization, authentication, we don't have to worry unless you're going to design only that, right?
Yeah. I mean, Facebook has its own login. It's basically, it has to ensure that the users are unique and all that, right? So that's a design problem in itself. And ensuring that users are authentic, like they're not sending you, like they're not bots who are just creating profiles. So that's a design problem on its own. But assuming that that's not the scope, that's not in scope. So yeah, a fresh user is verified, and now we are creating the API to create the user would be post slash user, right? And then you're basically the entire are you writing? Yeah. Yeah, so the fields would be email, name, so on, right? Thank you for writing it, Vijay. So right, and then the next would be get, right? So now I want to get a list of friends, get my friends, immediate friends. So I would be, that would be again get slash friends, and whose friends, like how I would probably have taken, you would have a token or something of the user, right? Like when the user has successfully authenticated, now we know we have a cookie that is set on the user, identifying the user's identity, right? So I don't need to populate the calling user in my API in that basically the URL. I would infer the user for which the friends list has to be returned from the cookie. right? So I would say get slash you friends, or get get slash friends. That's it. No user. Get slash friends. Yeah, that's it. And then right, and then if you want to load a particular friend's information, right? Like you want to you click on a that get friends thing gives you a list of users, and now you want to click on someone, then your path would be get friends query parameter. You would have the user ID is equal to something like this. So get slash friends question mark user ID is equal to something. That is one. That is the friends that you will get the entire list of friends when you do the get slash friends, right? So you want to have another endpoint that basically the same endpoint just supports that endpoint supports the query parameter user ID, where you can just like if that user ID is in your friend list, you are allowed to look at that user's profile, right? So any questions so far? No, it's a query parameter, but yeah, user ID is a query.
Oh, okay. All right. So
Yeah,
like
yeah,
this.
yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
I
I
can
mean, like,
wait till you are done with the whole API design. I can throw some pointers, or I can do it now. It's up to you.
We covered the points that we wanted. So yeah,
Okay.
another one. No, there's another one. So we want to create a connection, right? So that's another one. So post, that would be a post. Slash basically the post connect, and that basically the payload will have the connecting users user ID and right, user ID,
So if tomorrow, if there is any, let's say, bug fix, patching, or some functionality change, a little bit enhancement, how would you tackle your versioning? Because the URL was /get something. So how is the semantic versioning handled and backward compatibility handled? The second question would be on the query params itself. Like you said, okay, get me list of friends. What if I have close to 10,000 friends? So where would we do the pagination sort of mechanism?
Okay, yeah, good point. Yeah. So the get friends is a paginated query. So you would like just like the user ID, right? It will also have another query parameter where page number. Basically, you are the marker from which the next page has to be fetched is also is returned to you in the first page, and then you kind of append it in the subsequent queries. So but regarding the semantic versioning handle, so what do you mean? So there's a like your user model changed, that's why you want to version your API?
Irrespective, it can change, right? You don't know at this any given point, right? It can change. Product teams come and say, hey, I need to add some new attribute, and then maybe it's a breaking change in the sense like previous attribute had to be renamed, whatever it be, right? The idea every time we design a particular service is to always maintain versioning. So what you do is like let's say you don't represent that in the URL, the rest, you only represent the major version. Minor and patch you don't represent. So what happens is major.minor.patch, right? Minor and patch is more for the development team. Generally patches for any bug fixes that you do, so that like it's more on the release management and the branching that we do. So it's easy to roll out changes internally, test in different environments before it makes it to production. Minor releases are outward as well, just shown in the documentation. Hey, this particular service, there was a minor thing release. If some partners want to again do analysis and validate against a new beta minor release, they can do it before it reaches production. But major is generally the consumers look at. You include that in the URL and the rest URL, right? Let's say whatever, right? .com/API/v1/ the model name. You don't represent get in the URL ever, right? So that's why we have Swagger or other documentation which we represent. Hey, this is the data model. You pass in this value, you're going to get this response JSON response back, right? And the same way, it's not going to work if they're going to try post on a get protocol, right? Gets are idempotent. It doesn't change anything. The state itself, it just what it's there. It's just going to give. Put, patch, or even posts are the ones that's more any status can be changed behind the scene, right? And in fact, delete basically changes the state as well. Sort of deletes things. So yeah, those are the representations. Generally, you'll always say API v1 or v1 API. It depends on how people name it. Some organizations name it like /API every release version, right? If they have aggressive velocity and constant monthly releases, and they want to segregate per consumer of the service, they do little hardcore way of doing it, like 2022 every month release they do it, right? Although it's not preferable, but versioning should always be there in the URL, right? So that tomorrow, for whatever reason, you're releasing the next version, right? Upgraded version with some optimization, data model changes, supporting few other features. You'll release it as v2. If you want to keep both v1 v2 running in parallel in production, so that slowly you can give a deprecation notice to all the consumers of v1, say, hey, this is the time that the life cycle of this particular service is going to expire. Give them enough time so that they can migrate and move over to v2, right? Just because we have defined not every consumer is ready, just waiting to quickly move over. That's why these services, when it's exposed to anyone that's consuming, it's always not so easy change for them to adopt the new style if you're going to make changes and stuff like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I have a point here, Karthik. So I think you were saying that the URL can have a v1, v2. I think another alternative is the package version itself, like Java itself, for example, from Java 8 to Java 11 or 12. So basically, we upgrade the package itself in our code. So that way, before they deprecate the old package version, they give us a notice, and we have enough time to upgrade to the new package with any breaking change. So when there is a breaking change, that's when normally we upgrade the major version, right? So that people
Correct.
can. Yeah.
A breaking change or any new functionality as well, if you want to keep both running parallelly. Let's say there are a few set of legacy customers who don't want this new functionality or feature at all, right? They can continue to be on v1, and you already supported v2. Now, if v2 is supporting the new features and it's also doing the backward compatibility, right? Some people, what they do is they keep that constant, right? My API version is always v1. I don't care. Any new functionalities, I constantly keep adding as well. What they'll do is they'll do some content-based routing internally to the actual implementation that it's going to hit. Like, for example, legacy, the request is this, and it can sometimes be done by authentication tokens too, right? Okay, this particular authentication token, you go look up that profile, right? Let's say it's a JWT. Then you know that profile, who that customer is, and that could be some parameter which can say, oh, this customer, identify that they are legacy customers. Based on it, you would call a method implementation, which is like v1 related implementation. And if the user is new user, they go to v2. The only problem with that kind of approach is over time, it gets really difficult from a maintainability perspective. And also, like, let's say if there are multiple hands in the team, right? Like, let's say you are focusing on something else, you constantly need to update those details, right? Okay. But rather, if the consumer is hitting 2 APIs, it's pretty evident. Anyone who looks at it, it's like, okay, this is the URL and the related data model. Okay, it's pretty clear, right? You don't need babysitting people or documentation enough. So yeah, general preference is to keep it that way, semantic versioning, so you can retire it and even remove it in the code, right? You don't want, most of the time what happens, legacy code, we all comment it out, right? Comment it out, it stays in the code base forever. And then one fine day somebody says, hey, this is not needed at all, let's remove it, right? It just helps overall in the whole SDLC process of our service deprecation, and then maintainability at a code level and stuff like that. But one over the other is not, oh, this is strictly mandated, but general best practices to rotate that way. Major breaking changes are, yeah.
I mean, if the consumer of your API is if it's a microservice architecture, right? It's another service that's basically consuming your endpoint, then you have a little more control, and you can basically kind of collaborate with them and kind of determine, I mean, instead of introducing a new version of the API, you could probably collaborate with them and kind of phase out the deprecated attributes, but yeah, the switching
you can collaborate, but depends on everyone's priority, right?
Yeah,
this is not important for me. For me, my main thing driver is like, oh, I have to add another feature. I have to do this, right? For me, customer will always drive things, right? Okay, a new feature product. So that's what I'm saying. It's not easy. Of course, as long as you for everything you have to work with like whoever the consumer is. You have to collaborate. Nothing happens without it.
Yeah, but like I think introducing the versioning kind of enables you to decouple with other like you basically, if there are multiple services consuming and you can't get every them onboarded at the same time, you have a different version of the APIs, and you could kind of stagger the migration and kind of deprecate them once the migration is complete. Yeah, I think that makes sense. So now I think we are like, okay, what else we need to answer? So basic algorithm, right? On the algorithm side, so the algorithm intensive question is, how are you going to, now the question comes, how are you going to support browsing, right? Like, how do you want to expose your friend recommendation system? Essentially, that's where the algorithm is involved, right? Is that the algorithm question that you need to solve, or anything?
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah.
Right.
Let's
yeah, so now I wish I had done the graph DB, but no. So let's stick with our model. So how would I recommend the friends? So basically, the one low hanging fruit for a friend candidate is friend of a friend, right? We can prioritize friends. I could, like, me and Suba are connected, but Suba has her own, like, we live in the same city, so chances are if a person in Suba's contacts list lives in the same city, went to the same school, or like works at the same place, and chances are that I might know that person. So she's that person would be my recommendation system should be able to pick that person. So so my heuristics for basically my pool of my input for this recommendation system is basically given a profile. Given a profile, I should be able to find my immediate friends and friends, basically, and then the input for this recommendation system is a list of people, list of friends, and there the attributes like the city they live in, and then let's say city in the so to keep the problem, the MVP version of this recommendation system would be come up with a list of users who live in the list of friends in my first level contacts. Come up with friends of friends who live in the same city. Right, so that would be my initial recommendation systems thing. We could make it smarter, but like let's solve that problem as an MVP. How would I do that? So yeah, the recommendation system input. Yeah, let's go back to that. So I give my profile to this recommendation system. Now it knows the city I live in, right? And then it also knows the list of my friends, right? Basically, I look up the connection table and come up with a list of UUIDs, and and then I fetch. So for each UUID, I fetch friends. Basically, the filter, I would set a filter. Yeah, you could basically in the DDB you could set a filter where filter is equal to city I live in is let's say San Jose. So so basically let's optimize it later, but the brute force would be I iterate through all my connections, and for each connection I fetch users who live in the city San Jose, right? Now I have a bunch of users. Now, yeah, so that would be the that would be, that would solve my problem for this. But yeah, we can make it we can enhance the we can enhance this. We can rank the. Now we should be able to associate a rank to these people so that we order them according to relevance. So far our relevance criteria has only been city. So we can come up with, in order to rank these search results, right, we should be able to come up with yeah, let's say with how do you say that this person is most likely to be a a known acquaintance to this person, right? So we need to have that formula decided outside this before we approach this problem, before we actually code it out, and like before we implement this. We should one way to do that is like I said, we can assign weights to each city they live in, if they workplace, if they live in the same city and the same workplace, then we basically add up the we assign the weights and basically add up those things, so that will kind of boost the relevance of that contact, right? So that could be an algorithm we can follow. So any questions, or was I clear in what I was trying to achieve?
Yeah, I'm just adding some notes here. Like, so your algorithm is kind of like this, right? So you're saying, how do I decide whether a person is relevant to me from a list of users that I got back from my search? And you want to assign weights to something like the city they live in, the workplace that they have. I just put here, do they have the same friends as me?
Yeah, same friends as me. Yeah, I think that's another one, but that's a little harder to.
A little harder, yeah, but that's okay. I just wanted to throw the criteria there. That might be like something to actually think about over there on Facebook.
Actually, one of the most common suggestions that we get in Facebook is from the same common friends. Let's say I am your friend Amulya, and then I'm friends with Vijay too. So I think the first suggestion you might get is Vijay as your friend, to have Vijay as your friend, because I am a common friend.
No, so if Vijay knows someone who is already in my contact list and Vijay is in your contact list, then I think yeah, Vijay will get. I don't know Vijay yet.
Exactly.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, that's
But more common friends you have basically.
I
Like
think
if I
that's harder to implement. I mean, yeah, you can do it. I mean, of course, you can do anything. How would you solve that problem? How would you pick a profile that has common friends? I think that's where this data model is limited, right? We have only one level of the traversal is hard after one step, right? Like okay, Suba is my contact. From that vantage point, how can I pick users in Suba's contacts list that have common contacts in my contact list? I think that's going to be.
Let's try
So
the
one-
brute force. Yeah, let's try the
yeah,
brute.
you could just get their connections, right? If you know the UUID for that person, you could get all the connections they have. Then you could get all the connections you have, right? And then basically kind of just do like a comparison.
Yeah,
like,
Yeah, I mean it may not be efficient at this point, but I think yeah, doing bunch of loops will get us the answer.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You have to do that for each contact, right? Like I go to Suba and then I run this query. So right now, coming up with the city is simpler, right? Like now that to answer your question, I have to go to each contact and then I have to fetch friends of Suba and then perform a kind of an so Suba's friends and my friends whom I have
So usually like when I see these things like on the Facebook page or LinkedIn page, right? Like it's not everybody, they just do a handful, right? So you could assume that maybe the input or the search size is probably like a few, like not like thousands of people that I should go and search for, right?
Yeah, I mean the you should just return like maybe 5 recommendations. You should not like return 10,000 recommendations, right? First 5 recommendations is like that's you kind of run this and then come up with like 5 people. That's it. So coming back to that question, so friends of friends. So the question that we were trying to solve, Suba is my friend, and then Suba has Vijay as my friend. Vijay has a friend who I know, right? So because I know that person, Vijay should show up in my recommendation list. So so yeah, now I have to go to Suba. I have to fetch all Suba's friends, and then among this friends list, so and then I have to perform, is there an intersection in my friends list and Vijay's friends list? So for each of Suba's friends, I have to run this query. Is there a intersection anywhere between my list and that user's list? If that comes up as it comes up non-empty, then depending upon the number of results, I can kind of boost the weight and kind of propose Vijay as a potential friend person, right? Yeah.
Actually, the weight can just be the number of common friends.
Right. Yeah.
That actually doesn't sound that inefficient. So if we are recommending only 5 friends, then you look up only 5, until you get back 5 results.
Right.
You only look up that many number, and then just the rest is like a linear comparison between your list of friends and
It's
list of friends
not
in my friend list.
It's not time complex. I mean, it's not too hard a job for the computer. It's not going to be time consumptive. I think the other thing too is that a lot of this is run in the background, right? So I think there are like service services that are just running daily that just kind of cache these results, and then that becomes available to this person. Yeah. So it's something that you can have, and we don't need to. I think this is its own system design question in some ways, right? Make a friend recommendation engine.
Right.
But it's nice that we're solving this. So I think though, like Karthik, like maybe coming back to you, because I don't know if we hit 0 a while ago. Actually, I wasn't paying attention to the clock. But it is 8:30. What do you think so far? And let's give some closing thoughts because of time.
Fantastic. Like what you guys came up with without preparation, right? I don't know if I would
I
have.
know.
Because that's the key, right? If you're prepared, yeah, you can probably cover a lot of topics without preparation. Yeah, it's awesome. So, I mean, again, like, a lot of these complexities are taken off. If you really think about it, your search, you will just insert a Apache Lucene engine, which is going to do all the capabilities. And most of these recommendations that we talked are pre-computed. It's not just in time, not in real time. Everything is pre-computed behind the scene, everything, and the recommendation engine, pops in a message, but behind the scene. That's why graph database can still be used, but not in real time sense, right? It's behind the scene, pre-computation, all this calculation can be done. And then finally, yeah, you get a notification. It makes it looks like a magic, but reality of the thing is it's not real time. It's not real time transaction. So it's okay, right? We don't have to worry about, I can't say worry about complexity, but we have to, our time or space complexity on the algorithm, but those things are calculated in a different way. Everything is mostly a distributed system. It's not just a single instance doing multiple machines are there. So yeah.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to have some feedback along that line too. But I guess we can tackle that next time. Just kind of, I wanted you to kind of talk about scaling and those 3 points: scaling, maintainability, and what was the other one from the first chapter in the book?
Fault tolerance. Yeah, we can talk about these things, how you would deploy an API in AWS with AWS, right? Covering all these concepts, or even at a data center, how would you do it versus AWS? Yeah, absolutely. With whatever knowledge I have, more than happy to explain. But the main difference, right? From what I have seen, the difference when it comes to scale is all about how you do BOTEC, right? The back of the envelope calculations on how much storage, the capacity planning, the network bandwidth. You take into consideration all those things when you design, and then say, okay, this is the sometimes the space needed to store all these things, storage, that also helps drive you make a decision on the database.
Yeah.
Also limitations like what you suggested, right, Amulya? If we store the list of friends in the DDB record, we have that 400 KB limit for an item. So, that is a bottleneck already. So we can't go with that approach. So we have to think of alternate design. So yeah, I think choosing technologies heavily involves what all it supports, and if our requirement can be achieved with that.
Right. So I think maybe there are better solutions available for search. This problem it turned out to be actually a rank. I think the real algorithm involved was in the ranking, right? I think
the recommendation.
So I think maybe there are out of the box solutions that we can use. Maybe, the weight is a kind of a very crude form of ranking. Maybe there are better algorithms that will, I don't know, maybe, we should, now that we have done this impromptu, no preparation, we can actually look at an ideal solution and see how we can, what are the areas for improvements. We can probably take that up in the next class, right?
Yeah.
In my opinion, honestly, Amulya, I'm amazed with what all thoughts you came up. Like, I cannot even think of.
Hey, we use this in our
Still, it's hard to think of everything in 30 minutes that you came up. So it is pretty commendable.
Yeah, great job. Good job.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, so yeah, next class we can kind of go over the reference solution and kind of see where how we can what great solutions are available for this.
Yeah, we can actually look up yeah, exactly, what
yeah,
what the industry standard solutions are for recommending a friend, right? Basically,
right.
or interview better efficient or scalable maintainable solutions.
Yeah,
Definitely. I think you
And
can
if you look for that,
watch
most of the solutions are ML based. Yeah, I mean, everything is ML and clustering based. Reality of the world is, yes.
Actually, but before today's class, I just I am not in a state where I can think of so much, so I kind of Googled just to get some thoughts. So lead code actually, let me see if I still have it open. Some people had some discussions, and one of the cool suggestion was to use inverted index.
Yeah, something. Yeah, I'm sure there are some smart out of the box solutions. Yeah,
but the guy also said that it may not be efficient, but it is scalable.
Yeah, search engine people use OpenSearch, like if it's a AWS implementation or which is Apache Lucene based and it's distributed, right? So you can have I've seen some, for example, Slack and some of the companies have used this Elastic, this thing, right? ELK also, which is a log. I know it's a centralized logging, but they have used log that and use it for searching too. So yeah, different mechanism, different needs, and different reasoning. People choose different things.
Yeah, but the takeaway is the real thing that solved the problem here in this friend recommendation system was the connection table modeling. If I had screwed up there, I think it would have gone the other way. I mean, having that idea, so this goes back to the point that your data models are the single most that basically enables you to use certain algorithms or not. So I think if I had like you said, I mean, not to if I had persisted it as an array, I think it would have made the problem much more complex to solve.
Yeah, of course.
So I think that's I mean, I got this idea because we use it in our work, so otherwise I wouldn't have gotten it. But yeah, so
that is the base use of data structure, right? To solve the problem efficiently. We can always store things whatever way we want to, but we may not be able to solve the problem.
Right. Yeah. Like solving. I think the use case. You should design your data model according to the use case. In this particular problem, I happen to have prior experience, so I was able to come up with this. Without thinking. But there might be problems that we don't. So that's why exposure is important.
So interesting, right? Sorry, go ahead.
So I was just saying that's why. So basically from my interview preparation, right? I don't have a lot of experience, but from my whatever minimum experience I have, what I learned is when something is thrown at you during the interview, the preparation is not, are we getting the same question? No, it basically enables you to familiar with all the flavors of problems, so that you can when you are thrown a problem, you can basically relate it to some way to. So basically I might have solved some problem with stacks and list or whatever, but there can be a problem during the interview, like what Karthik was recommending. I might be able to use both of the fundamentals for both the data structure and might be able to solve that. So same with the design question. So that's why I think when we, as much problems we solve, we will get into that groove, and when we are given a problem, we might be able to solve it with the knowledge we already have.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So this is the most important thing, right, Amulya?
Mhm.
And which I have been told many times once I've been in AWS, and I still feel like an imposter, right, in AWS, to be honest. My manager and a lot of people constantly say, people make a mountain out of a mole, right? Never discount what you have done. Accepting that is more important, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Don't discount what you came up with, oh, because I knew it, right? But still, it's still commendable. So you need to give a pat on yourself.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm amazed. That's what I was saying. And most of the interviews are also like that, right? So if there's a question that I have worked on, I am going to solve it the way I did.
Exactly, yeah.
Rather than cracking something new, which just thinking that no, I'm familiar, let's try something. No, I'm gonna give that a try. We designed it when we implemented it, thinking something.
Exactly. That's the brute force way of doing it, right? First solve it.
Yeah.
Done. 80% is done. If they constantly keep probing questions, how can you change? Maybe give your thought, the 20% optimization.
Right.
Yeah.
That is how the interview also goes, right? Was the candidate able to solve the problem in any way? So I was also looking at some of the, in Amazon, I recently found that the wiki, it has a lot of like sample interview questions and approach. So like there were questions for L4, if the person should be able to crack the basic problem. For L5, they should be able to identify these issues in that problem. For L6, even higher level issues. So yeah, so there are layers always. So at least crack the basic, because if there are 5 rounds,
Like for
if you crack
L6
the basic in one and did the other 4 better, they
Yeah.
might still consider you.
No, but L6 and all, I think will brute force will still cut it. I don't know. I mean,
It depends on how all like
No, so I'll tell you, right? When I came in, they asked me few algos, but it's not like super complex algos, right? Of course. I first did the most easiest brute force way, solved it, and then the interviewer was like, okay, what if I want to improve I don't want like this time complexity, I want it faster, I want like O of n complexity, O of n space is given for you, how would you solve it, right? So at that point I was able to come up with that, right? So it's the reason why you would want to do that is 2 reasons, right? What if you're not coming up with the optimized way, but at least you know the brute force way, and then you can work your way into that. So it's valid. But from a system design, yeah, the bar might be higher. You would not want to say some, not think other considerations, but algorithm, it's okay. You're okay.
yeah.
Because most of the L6, they don't write code too much. I mean, they review code and do this, but most of the time, 30% maybe they write code, but their picture is more on the system design, how to scale, the impact, wider impact.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, next class we will go over the reference solution, and then we will move on to the next chapter, right?
Yeah.
Sounds good. Yeah, good job. And yeah, just
Sorry, go ahead, Vijay.
Oh, I was just gonna say, share your thoughts too, like either in the Discord or the WhatsApp, because I want to keep this discussion just going. Like I think is really good today. Like whatever notes or links you find, just keep sharing it because this is a really good one.
Yeah. I think to keep motivated, we should share those blind things about the people's total compensation. I think the motivation comes up again.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I was telling my husband the other day, he keeps on asking me, why are you not preparing? Why are you not motivated? I literally told him, paste 500K in every wall. I haven't done that yet, but maybe that will motivate me.
But I know that you're all like very motivated for this, 500K thing, right? But honestly, like think about it this way too, right? Like you should be thinking like, do I have skills to make apps that make millions of dollars, right? Because if you can do that, like that's actually what I ask myself. Can I make something that makes $1 million for me? Like that would be amazing. I would love to have $1 million, or a couple $1 million, right? So that's actually what I'm shooting for. I'm not shooting for like, a job that's 500,000. I mean, that's nice to have for sure, like today, but like ultimately, like, you know, I want to build like something cool, right? Like the next, I don't know, like, I don't know if I'll be able to do it in my lifetime, but I'll try, you know, like maybe some kind of like, you know, something like Yahoo or Google or Figma or whatever, right? You know, like that would be really great. So I network with a lot of you. That's actually why I came to the group, right? Like just to learn, like, okay, what does it take to be a skilled engineer, which we're doing right now. But then later on, like, I want to like start asking questions like, okay, now that I have these skills and now that I know the people with these skills, like, what can we build? And hopefully, like, within 10 years, like, I actually build something for real, you know, that is millions of dollars. And that was also my like sort of parallel like thing that I was doing with Beachbody. And, you know, even now, like with a new job coming up, right? Like, I was just starting to ask, like, when I start working for these companies, like, I would love to, you know, build something really great with a great team, and then, you know, be able to, you know, live off of that equity, you know, that I build into that company, right? So if they do offer shares or something like that, that would be great, you know, and especially if it results in millions of dollars. So I think that's what, like, I'm shooting for, you know, like more so than, you know, just like a certain level of pay, if that makes sense.
Also, to survive that pay, we need to have the knowledge. I mean, I see so many L6 at Amazon, even like given Karthik, right? The amount of knowledge he has, I mean, the way he talks, I mean, that is something, you know, I look up to. And you can only
yeah.
get there by what you said, investing in yourself, reading and learning.
Yeah.
Not
But don't get
the
fooled.
500.
Don't
Yeah,
get
not
fooled
by
by my
getting a
talk.
500 or a million paycheck. That's not gonna teach me.
Yeah.
Don't
Karthik
get
is
fooled,
very
Subha,
good.
by my talk. Trust me, I'm not all that. Compared to a lot of people, like I feel like I have so much to learn. Oh, so much to learn.
We always have people to look up to.
But that's a good thing. I mean, you're never, I don't think like anybody here, right? Like if you set a goal, like saying, oh, I want to be like the smartest person at Google or smartest person in the world, it's really hard, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, you're going to end up like facing a huge track of failure, right? Like along the way, you might eventually get there if you sell your soul to the devil or something like that. But, you know, like I don't think it's as good of a goal, right? Like I think it's more like a good goal like would be, I want to hang out with the best people in the world, right? And so then learn from them and take those things that I learned, even if I feel like an imposter the entire time, right? Take the skills to build something that, you know, makes me some money, right? And like allows me to live like a pretty decent life. Like to me,
Feel like imposter. It's good to feel like an imposter. Why constantly pushing yourselves always, right? Kicking yourself, saying, oh, you're not contented. You're always like, you know, trying to level up to against whoever your role model is, right? Constantly trying to push, kick. That's why I think there is no amount of learning in Udemy or all these platforms we do. Yeah, concepts, fundamentals we can understand, but reality of the world is real world is not just this, right? It's way beyond, right? So experiential learning is the best learning. And if you have someone like solid, rock solid in your team, who's of course not a, you know, who's okay
asshole.
from a attitude
Yeah.
wise to help you. Yeah, I was gonna say that, but like since you record, right?
Yeah,
Who's
it's all
not an
right.
asshole, like, you know, trying to help you there, nudge you there. I worked with some of the engineers who like they won't even give you answers, right? Literally, they'll just like say, oh, this is wrong. That's all. Cut it. Move it. That's exactly what they use. But I have worked with some of the really smart, empathetic people too, who will nudge you. They, even these guys won't give you answers. They'll ask you, "Hey Karthik, what about this? Did you forget this? Hey Karthik, how will you handle it?" And then they'll give you a chance to think about it a little bit. It still doesn't work, like they'll come and help you explain and stuff like that. So to be honest, I am whatever knowledge today I have, like a lot of people have you know, helped me get here. So I'm always thankful for that, right?
Yeah. It's ultimately about like the people you hang out with. Like, you know, my dad always used to say this to me, right? Like you're the sum or average of like the 5 people you hang out with, right? Like, so like if you hang out with people who just waste time, then you're going to be a time waster. But if you're a person who hangs out with people who are go-getters, you're probably going to become a go-getter. So like, I always think of that like in the back of my head, then I just try to move forward. But you know, like, so I'm not trying to sit there and compare myself to some other person and say, oh yeah, like, am I better than this person, or is this person better than me, or do I not know something they don't know? Like the only time I do that is like if they know something that, you know, I might need to know for a job or for a specific role, then I'll start asking them questions. And if they're kind of an asshole, right? Like, and we can say it's because it's the adult version morning, you know, like I guess of this group. You know, then like for me, I learned a long time ago, like if somebody treats you, you know, like crap, right? You can always drop that friendship, right? And find another friend, right? You know, like, or find another person, right? And you don't have to hang out with bad people. I mean, like, I don't know. I like connecting with people. I'm social and I would like to, you know, keep building on my connections. And so like I'm pretty proud of what I've built, you know. I feel like it's only going to get bigger and better. So there's always people out there you can ask. Like that's my point, right? Like I want to just connect and ask you know, everybody that I can connect to, like whatever I need, right? And then build whatever I want. So
yeah, this is the thing that I have never learned, or maybe I'm too shy or like feel awkward. I don't connect with people as much. But yeah, I'm trying to do that. Yeah, Amazon has something internal, Shiva and Mulyano, like connections or mentorship. Recently hit up someone in Chime.org. I don't know, they were even in Chime.org, called Tushara Paul. She was SDM and stuff.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
She's on Amulya's side, right? Amulya.
Yeah, ML, some ML. The soul searching that I'm trying to do, Shubha, is like, should I be a SDE or a SDM? So all my forte feedbacks are leaning towards SDM. So I'm like, I'm a little confused. So I'm just trying to talk up to people to understand it better.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, I guess I don't want to keep you all like too long. So if anything else, just basically let me know. Like, you know, I know I've been kind of slow with the videos, but like I'll probably get back up to speed with that pretty soon. We should have most of the videos. I think everything should be up to date over here in the system design, and I'll put this one out
So
today
you're gonna
as well.
cut out all the discussion we had in the end, right, Vijay?
This time I don't mind because I haven't really talked about anything nobody wouldn't know. So yeah, for sure. Okay, well, yeah, I'll see you all online, and thanks. Talk to you later.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Later, guys.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.